stream here. All right, we are now live on YouTube and LinkedIn Live as well. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone, and welcome to this LF Decentralized Trust webinar with Zeeve. We're going to be starting in a minute or two just to get people a chance to join, and then we're going to start. Right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everyone. Welcome to this LF Decentralized Trust webinar with Zeeve. We're going to be starting in just a minute, just to give more people a chance to join, and then I'm going to be happy to introduce our panelists for today and also take you through some housekeeping. Hello also to everyone joining us on LinkedIn Live and YouTube. We have some viewers there as well, and I'll be sharing the link to the webinar there as well. So if you want to join our live webinar, you're welcome to do so too. Now, without further ado, we're going to start the webinar. So first, if you haven't joined any of our webinars before, I would like to emphasize that everyone is welcome in our global community, and we are striving to create a safe and welcoming environment for everyone. So I would like to invite you to follow our code of conduct when interacting with each other on this webinar and in the broader community as well. And you can find our code of conduct on our website and on our wiki. All of the LF Decentralized Trust webinars are held under the LF antitrust policy, which you can also find on our website and on our wiki. This session is being recorded, and you can always return to it and see both the recording as well the webinar slides in our webinar library. It's linked over here. Now, we encourage people to stay active and get the most out of it. So, and the more interaction we have, the better experience for everyone. And so feel free to raise your hand and ask the questions from our panelists. You can also use the Q&A button or you enter your questions in the chat. And for those of you joining us live on LinkedIn Live and YouTube, you can also use the chat button to ask your question, or just join us on the webinar here, and I will be sharing a link in a moment there. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Sankalp Sharma, who is a co-founder and VP of Engineering at Zeeve, and we'll be talking today about how to simplify network infrastructure management of Besu. Sankalp, over to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Thomas. Really grateful to be back here again, and it's always good to engage with the community of Hyperlegend every time. And we try to bring in something interesting every year. And what this year we've got hopefully helps a lot of blockchain folks out there who are looking to build applications on blockchain, deploy, manage, scale, all of that, what is necessary for a production grade setup. So let me bring my screen up and we'll get started. So today's demonstration is about simplifying the network management of Besu networks, and this is what we have been looking to provide to our customers. We are running a bunch of networks already with our tooling we are about to demonstrate. But before that, a bit about Zeeve. So we've been to infra space for a good time now, 6+ years into blockchain space. And we, of course, are an infra company primarily, which means that we ourselves integrate natively with a lot of cloud providers. Above 10 cloud providers is what the number is at the moment. And we support a whole ton of blockchain protocols. We have about 100+ engineers around the globe who are working with us at the moment to provide the right tooling and the infrastructure components which are required for distributed systems management. We are also very highly secure compliance organization with ISO 27001, GDPR, and SOC 2 certifications. This is a bit of our stack that we usually work with, where we've got all the blockchain protocols, our management, operational, monitoring services, and various tools and monitoring stack, which is also part of our very setup. We have a big chunk of orchestration layer, where it's managed by our UI components itself, as we are about to see. And that is again powered by integration tools of CI/CD, such as Jenkins, GitHub Actions, and such. So we are actually compatible with all of those existing tools. And at the same time, we work with, again, all of the cloud providers, even self-hosted environments as well in some cases. We've been working in a lot of verticals. We are engaged with, of course, as I mentioned, a lot of protocols, rollups. We have our own solution as well, which is called TraceEye. A lot of time, for example, for Hyperledger Besu, you would require to index your data. And we have an indexing solution which can fit onto your Besu network as well for indexing custom smart contract data at the same time. Similarly, we've got TraceHawk, which is a fully separate and branded product, an Explorer service, which we also provide to our Besu customers. And it's just a fresh view of what most Explorers provide, but also providing a bit more specific features which are only specific to the protocol itself, which is Besu again. And we also are working on a decentralized sequencing network, not relevant, but that's just something that we are having in our portfolio. And then, of course, the app chain as a service, something that we have gathered up today for, which is Besu deployment, management, scaling, etc. And working in this space, we are constantly working with a lot of integration partners ourselves to provide a better experience. No longer an app chain is typically just a blockchain setup. You require a lot of side solutions, as I mentioned, Explorer services, data indexing, file sharing protocol, and faucet SaaS services, etc., and etc. So we have a very large ecosystem partnership portfolio that we engage our users with. Well, with Besu, how it works is that a network deployment is more than just a couple of things that you want to deploy. It's actually about a whole journey where you have to decide what works best for you. So there is a bit of a piece where you have to listen to the advices, share your requirements, and really understand what kind of Besu setup would fit your requirements best. So there is a bit of consultation that is involved in your infrastructure setup. And then there is a dedicated consortium setup, which could have single party or multi-party system to begin with. And that's where, again, a lot of deployments automation comes in place, which Zeeve has created for itself with our CLI tooling, as well as our UI-based automation. And you can see the various details. I won't go too much in depth here. I'll just show you with the running platform itself instead. And of course, as I mentioned, we are very security compliant. So the tooling that we are providing here is up to the mark. It's very secure and can be designed and utilized for enterprise-grade solutions which are out there. And at the same time, we are fully compatible with the DevOps tools of today, whether that's Jenkins or Ansible or Terraform or AWS, Azure, whatever that cloud provider is. So we are compatible with all those tooling and infrastructure needs of a typical organization. At the end of the day, once you deploy your network, it's about scaling, but it's also about management, operations, maintenance, and providing support whenever needed. So this is a bit of a full package, what we are able to put together to take care of Besu Network's needs. This is how you can typically imagine a Besu setup. So here you can see the bottommost layer is the cloud provider itself. Here I've taken Microsoft Azure, but again, as I mentioned, we are compatible with 10 plus cloud providers on our side, natively integrated. And then you have Zeeve as a service on the top, which provides deployment management, which is again comprising of configuration management, deployment automation, RPC and GraphQL API endpoints, indexing of your data itself as well, consortium management, Besu account control. So you have addresses and accounts which are very critical to your setup, alerts and notifications, monitoring, visualization, user management, usage metering, etc., etc. So that's all part of Zeeve. And at the end of it, what it is about is to encourage Besu and its features, to promote its features that it has been able to provide so far, and only look to empower those very features itself. So let's say Besu has a very good consortium management strategy. Our challenges are how can we really bring it to UI and enforce our strategy to our users, while at the same time making it fully flexible for anybody to manage their consortium, manage their deployment strategies, as well as the configurations that they would like to deploy their Besu network with. In terms of automation, whether you're using it for deployment of network or deploying it for contracts, this is how typical setup may look like, where you have your Jenkins, Azure, whatever pipelines that you prefer as of today. Even if you do not have any preference, then that's fine too. Our CLI tooling by itself is enough for you to engage with your fully private Besu network if it needs to be like that. So a bit of a flow diagram of how it works, what are the code scans, how the automation takes place, and how does it interact with your Besu network. This is a typical simplified Besu network, as you can see here. And while this is a simplified version of it, all sitting within, let's say, one cluster, you can have multi Kubernetes cluster-based setup. So heterogeneous network setup is what you can expect with the tooling that we are about to demonstrate. So let me just quickly hop on to our platform and take it from there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log in with one of my accounts here. This is the Zeeve platform. And as you can see, this is the dashboard that I've landed up on. And on my left here, there are various tools as we've discussed. But if you scroll down, you'll find Besu. If you click on Besu as an item, this is a screen that you'll land on, where you can deploy fresh networks of Besu in a few clicks, or you can look at an existing Besu network as we've got here. We'll try to see how a Besu setup is actually done. I'm just going to name this as Besu network. I'm going to just give a name here, so some description. You can provide anything that is helpful. I can select a namespace of where I want to deploy this. So this namespace is a good way to keep your resources cleanly managed, not only in your clusters, but also within the platform itself. So I'm going to select a workspace of Besu networks, and I'm going to go ahead and click next. So next screen, I can see I've got an option of configuring my blockchain, so I can put on a chain ID. And for whatever reason, let's say if this chain ID is already utilized out there, then Zeeve will inform me that you got to change your chain ID because this is already a known network. You can't utilize the same chain ID. You can select your consensus type, the version of Besu that you like. So we support a number of versions, and we provide on-demand based upgrades as well. You can decide what kind of reward distribution you want, whether you want it to happen to a specific validator or to mining beneficiary. So again, our idea basically has been that we keep our we promote the configuration that Besu supports and not restrict it as much as possible. Besu supports a whole variety of them, and our idea has been that we also bring them onto the stream here itself. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. Here is where I can name my boot node. So I'm just going to simply name them boot node 1, capital letter. Similarly, I can name the next node as well. So 2 boot nodes are at least recommended. You can add more boot nodes to your network based on the size and scale. Next, I can also name the validators of my network. So here I'm going to just name validator 1. Validator 2, you can name it according to yourself. So let's say if different parties are supposed to be holding different nodes, then they can name it accordingly as well. And you can also add more validators at the time of setup itself. So I'll go ahead and click next. To my RPC nodes, I'll just name this one too. I can select what kind of endpoints do I want to enable, HTTP and WebSocket both. I can even add more RPC endpoints if I want. I can select what kind of authentication method do I want, API key-based or JWT-based. Besu natively supports both of them. I can select what kind of APIs do I want to enable onto my RPC nodes. And with this in place, I can go ahead and click next. This is where I can configure my address of the pre-mining account. So let me put down some addresses here. I'll just go ahead and add one at the moment. But again, you can add a whole bunch of them. I'll put down an amount in V. And you can add more accounts, but I'll just keep it to this much for now. And I can go ahead and click next. So right now we're at step 7, this is where I can configure my cloud account. So this is where I'm going to choose whatever cloud that I want to deploy it with. And as you can see, I have a various number of cloud accounts that I can select from. So here I'm going to select prod AWS as just one of my AWS accounts. But again, you can choose whatever cloud account that you fancy. We support deployment strategies of both, where you can bring your own cloud account to the setup, or you can choose a cloud account provided by Zeeve itself. So it's fully managed, where you don't have to worry about cloud accounts whatsoever. We also support that. Next is the regions. So whatever regions are supported by that very setup itself, that's exactly what we can provide support for. So I'm just going to type here US West 2, but I know that it has got some quotas in terms of VPC limits and such. And let's say for whatever reason, if your account does not have enough quota in terms of VPC or IP limits or just the machine numbers, then Zeeve will inform me of all of that. I can select the Kubernetes type deployment. So this is what we recommend in terms of deploying your Besu networks. And I can select what kind of machine specs do I want to have set up with. So I'm going to select just 4 machines. And I'm going to choose something of machine specs of, let's say, A3x large or something. Just for a setup, but of course you can decide what works best for your own solution. But if you're not sure, you don't worry about it. You can scale up your machines, your networks, your nodes afterwards as well. And with this, I can just click on submit. Zeeve will make a bunch of checks of making sure my configuration is according to the right expectations. It will also make sure that my cloud requirements are fully there, that I'm not crossing any boundaries. And let's say if I am crossing, then it will show an error like this, which is that your elastic IP limit has exceeded in your AWS account, which is where I can choose whether to, let's say, change the region of deployment or choose a different cloud account whatsoever. I have both those options. So for now, I think I might have actually spent my limit here. But what we've got is that we've got a fresh network setup anyways that we can go with. It takes about 30 to 40 minutes for the whole network to come live. But we don't have to wait for that long. We have prepared a network for you guys already that you can just open from here. So once your limits have been met, you're not crossing any thresholds like like the elastic IP or VPC limits or machine limit or whatever that is, supported by your cloud account. This is where you would line. And this is what a typical deployed network management looks like. You can see this summary dashboard has all the right options, which is like the general details, the blockchain configuration, the nodes, the number of nodes, as well the breakdown of them, the two root nodes, 4 validator nodes, 2 RPC nodes. And you can see a bit of the name, how much of time it took in provisioning of the infrastructure, how much of time it took for the blockchain provisioning on top of that, and what is the blockchain configuration like for myself, what is the Genesis file at the moment, the validator management panel, a bit of summary of that, total validators, what is the infrastructure like here, what are the alerts which are popped up across your network. You can go to validator management, and this is where you can see that I can look at all my validators which are present here. I can see their status, whether it's ready or whether it's provisioning or whether it's, for whatever reason, it's deleting or such. I can even do certain actions corresponding to it. So I can look at more details like the enode address, account, whether it's syncing or not, current block height of my node. And I can also launch the monitoring panel of this as well, something that we'll come to in a bit. One interesting feature that we are looking to add is validator joining requests. So onboarding onto your Besu network is, of course, very, very complicated, as it is with most protocols, because you're talking about a very secure connection to your existing network while owning that very base infrastructure at the same time where your node is running at. So we provide automation today itself where we can allow heterogeneous network setup where, let's say, one person with an AWS account can have their nodes running on their own account, and another person, let's say, who's running a different AWS account, or let's say an Azure account or a GCP account, can also run the nodes running in their own infrastructure, but at the same time participating in your very network. So this kind of heterogeneous setup is what we support, and we are also bringing it on our UI as well. So this is coming soon. In the meanwhile, if you have the need for heterogeneous setup, you can anyways have them without this UI panel anyways with our team's support. So this is the configuration bits where you can see the Genesis file, you can see the chain ID, the block period, to some bit of on-chain, off-chain configurations, how you can understand it. And the gas configuration, the reward configurations, whatever pre-mining has been performed, the transactions, or transitions. So transitions is an interesting concept in Besu, with which you can apply changes in your network-wide configurations. Now, these network-wide configurations are hard to coordinate and orchestrate to all the participants of the network. And this is where Zeeve comes in, and it allows simplified ways where you can, let's say, start a transition. You can choose whatever block height you want to apply that transition from. Transitions are simplified ways of changing these configurations itself. So let's say I would want that after 6,000 blocks, I want this transition to be applied. And I want the parameter of block reward, or let's say the block period, to be changed for what is 3 seconds right now. Let's say 2 seconds or 5 seconds, whatever that value might be. So I can change these configurations, but again, it is very difficult to coordinate and orchestrate these changes throughout the network. And you risk having a lot of issues when you have multiple participants into your Besu network itself. But with this press of the button, it will ensure that you are applying these transitions throughout the network, which are all the nodes managed with Zeeve tooling itself. So once you add the transition, I'll skip it for now, because once I apply this, it will actually restart my nodes with the new configuration in place, and the restart process itself is very, very mindful, so that the network itself does not have any downtime. So that's very, very interesting concept again, because applying these transitions, it always requires restart of nodes, and you risk downtime of your very network itself. But when I apply this, it will perform a restart of my nodes one by one, making sure my quorum is always met and my RPC endpoints are always still functional. Once you apply it, this is how the transition will look like. So you can see I had created a transition just about an hour or 2 hours back for the clock count of 1500, and its clock period was changed to 3 seconds, which was from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. From here onwards, you can also look at My Notes section. And this is where you can manage your notes. So you can look at all the notes which are present within your account here. So the book notes, the validator notes, the RPC notes. You can look at the details of these. So like this RPC node, it's endpoint, the HTTP endpoint, the WebSocket endpoint, the API key, which is already part of the endpoint itself, the status of it, its in-sync status, the block height itself. You know, from the monitoring, you can look at what APIs are enabled onto this setup. Similarly, if I look at the validator nodes and its details, I'll be able to find that what is its eNode URL for me to look at the reward that it is getting. I can look that up on Explorer. So all of that is present here. Next, in my cloud infrastructure, I've got the screen which basically gives me an overview of the underlying infrastructure itself. So here, this is deployed on AWS, but you can imagine the same panels for other clouds as well. And here, I've set this up on the region of US West 2. It's a multi-AZ setup, so it's highly available setup, as you can understand. And you can see the total number of worker node pools as it is in an EKS cluster. So you can see that there are 3 worker node pools. Total worker nodes are 4. I can also see a bit of a summary of utilization. There's a drill down available as well in terms of my resource consumptions, but this is a bit of an overview, as you can see here. So my CPU consumption, memory consumption, it's all green at the moment, nothing to worry much about. And then I've got my worker node pools, which are again all the worker nodes, the number of worker nodes that they have. So this is a Kubernetes net setup that my network is running upon again, just to remind you on that. And I can scale up my worker nodes more and more, or even change the machine type if I want. I can even add more worker node pool as well if I fancy adding more firepower to my underlying infrastructure. I can do that with this single click available here. So the whole idea is that you don't have to go back to your cloud infrastructure, your AWS account or your GCP account, because that can again bring in issues which are difficult to manage and operate from blockchain perspective. So let's say if you're not careful while, let's say, adding a worker node pool or scaling your existing worker node pool, you can expect that there will be a significant downtime that may come about onto your entire network just because you were scaling one machine within your Kubernetes cluster. So with the scaling that we provide here, it is safe of all of those problems, and you can actually perform scaling without any worries of your downtime of your network. And again, inviting is what we are bringing on, as we've already been supporting a bunch of customers who are running heterogeneous cloud setups, heterogeneous Besu network setups with multiple participants. We are also bringing this to the UI, and that will be managed with invite base, where you can simply put out the invite, people will receive it on their email, and they can just run their flow in a fully automated manner. But if you have the need for this, we anyways are providing it to a bunch of customers still. Next point is the Explorer. So this is a typical white labeled Explorer, which is fully automated. But when we engage with customers, we realize, of course, tools like Explorer or Faucets, they require significant white labeling. So we have a Tracehog Explorer, as we call it, which is very feature rich, and it serves the need of your Besu deployments. Idea of a typical Besu network is that you don't just do a setup or have a block scout setup, which is running as Explorer. You need to have end-to-end furnished experience for your customers. And that's where your branding, your logo, your color themes, everything comes in place. And what UI experience we're able to provide with our Explorer branding and Faucet branding and interoperability branding and all is to that level and depth as well. Further down the line, we've got monitoring, which is also a very vital part of this setup, the management that we provide. And this is where things get interesting. So we find that a lot of people struggle a lot with monitoring, and they often find themselves into issues, or they just do not have it realized what kind of metrics do they need to watch out for, what are the things that they need to put alerts in for. But once you deploy a network or manage it with Zeeve, it automatically enables all those right alerting that should be there for your end-to-end endpoints, or whether it's for wallet balances, or whether it's for the staking itself, whether it's for the validator request which is coming. So we provide a bunch of monitoring, as you can see here. And these monitoring metrics can be categorized in two manners. So one type of metric is system metrics, which is just general bits like CPU, memory, network I/O, and such. And the other metric type is blockchain metrics, which is block latency, block time, the number of peers that your node is connected to, your query time, your RPC response time, etc., etc. So those are all blockchain protocol metrics, Besu metrics, as we call it. So here on this selection box here, you can see the top ones. The above four are all panels for system metrics. And then we've got a dedicated dashboard for Besu metrics. So here you can see the CPU, memory, network I/O, etc., etc. You can look at it based on namespaces, nodes, worker nodes, all of that what is necessary. And again, you can look at the cluster-wide level. You can look at it at Kubernetes node level, namespace level, all of that is visible and available for your consumption. And this is for, again, benchmarking your solution to understand maybe you're doing some cost burning on your side because you're providing a lot of machine power when your network actually doesn't require it. So for cost optimization, it's very helpful. And also just for the purpose of monitoring the network, its uptime, to get some guarantees to make sure that your network will run healthily today and also tomorrow. These kind of metrics are very, very important to have. Then we've got the blockchain metrics, as I was explaining. And these are all the metrics that are specific to Besu protocol itself. So this is a bit of an overview where I can see the current blockchain height of my very node. I can see all the nodes which are listed here, and I can select whichever node that I want to select from. I can see the time since last block, whether it makes sense to me or whether it's too much. Peer count limit, the block time, block behind. If my node is behind any blocks, this is where I can see the data to be popped up. The number of peers my node is connected to, the average mark duration, the block seconds, the CPU of my Besu process itself, the transaction pool size, transaction remove, transaction duplicates, a bunch of stuff which actually helps me in troubleshooting as well, besides all the good stuff that I mentioned. And again, it's important to note that based on each and every metric here, whether it's simple CPU, memory, disk, network I/O, or connected peers, we provide alerts on top of it as well. These alerts will be available to you on your email, your Zeeve login, your console here itself as well. It'll also be available in your Slack, MS Teams, Telegram, whatever channel you integrate with as well. And then also Zeeve mobile app as well. So we support both Android and iOS app, where you can expect that you can be on top of your deployment through Zeeve monitoring, as well as alert and notifications as well. So all of that is available in your Zeeve mobile app as well. So this is where the alerts also pop up here in your console. And then to have a good idea, have a good visibility, and also for compliance reasons, you need to have logging enabled onto your Besu setup. And a lot of times for troubleshooting or debugging, these logs come and help a lot. And that's where I can switch between the different nodes, and I can open the logs of every node itself as well. So I can see my RPC node 1 here has been syncing logs continuously. So that's a bit about the Besu. Now, what all of this does is that it saves a lot of hassle. Now, we've seen by our experiences that a typical Besu setup requires, it takes month, 2 months to have a fully production grade setup, and that too would have security issues in it. But because we've done it, we master it, and we maintain it, you can do it in a few clicks. You can do it in half an hour or 40 minutes is what I just, as we went through this demonstration. You can have the fresh network setup in just a few clicks instead of putting the amount of time for month to month and try to master the deployment itself. And by the time that you master it, time for maintenance has just come to you, where you have to again upgrade your processes, do the testing once again, make sure the change requests that have come in or the change log of the new update versions is all good as well. So that's a bit about the monitoring bit. And that's a bit about the automation, how much Zeeve can help me in saving the automation time. But in terms of management itself, it helps a lot because what I'm really doing is that it'd be very difficult to add nodes, deploy contracts, integrate with my CLI pipelines, have a fully private experience if I want to go for that, or even have a bit more public-private experience. All of that becomes very, very difficult to do. And management is something that we find our customers struggle a lot and at times not do it very well as they should. So a system like this, which enforces the right practices, makes sure that we get it right from the very start. And then the last bit, which is support and maintenance, which is our team, which is 24/7 supporting. It has been handling a lot of enterprises around the globe, is able to provide an SLA, a very difficult to achieve SLA of 99.9 and extra 9 SLA as well. So that's all of what this is about. Of course, there are multiple flows beyond this, like adding RPC nodes, changing our configurations, which are off-chain or on-chain at times, more than what we just saw today. And for that, we already have controls. We have our CLI tools to support all of that. But we are always improving our experience for our users. We're already adding a bunch of features to our platform as we speak. So with this, I'll conclude my demonstration. Maybe there was more to provide, but if you find any interest or project that we can collaborate with, we are very, very happy to do it. It improves our product, it improves our customers' experiences, and it ultimately achieves the common goal for everybody, which is blockchain adoption, which is Besu adoption, and taking it to the next step. Yeah. That's all from my side. Maybe we can take a look at some questions if there are any. So just before I end, I'll also maybe just talk about the team once before we jump onto the questions. So this is our team, as you can see here. We're a bunch of more than 100 people working across the globe. Very, very techy and very engineering-oriented folks. And if you want to reach us out, get in touch with us. These are our communication channels.
That's great. Thank you, Sankalp. We do have one question. If you look at the Q&A box.
I see it. So the question is about, does this support privacy like Tessera or similar? And is there a self-hosted package? Yes. So Tessera is something that we've had a lot of time and requirement as well from our customers. And yes, we do provide Tessera-based deployments. We are bringing it to your UI, but whether through UI, whether with our UI or with our customer support, you can have Tessera into your Besu setup. That's right. And beyond that as well, beyond just Tessera, there are a lot of other tools that you can set up as well. I would just take this moment to answer, which is that let's say if you want to have interoperability with Hyperlane or Axelar or Router, we are already working with all those integration providers. So let's say if you want to have joint liquidity or shared liquidity of your tokens between your chain and let's say other EVM ecosystem or even Solana ecosystem, all of that is possible with our integration partners. So we provide various tooling, indexing solutions, oracles. We have partners in all of those verticals as well for additional tooling. And for self-hosting, yes, as I mentioned, you can bring your own cloud, which is where you can connect your own cloud account. But then you can also choose our fully managed solution where you don't have to worry about cloud infrastructure whatsoever. We support both the models. And let's say if you do not have any cloud account, which is like AWS or Azure or GCP or anything like that, and you still want to have self-hosting, let's say with your private data centers, then we have worked with those kind of models as well.
Great, thank you, Sankalp. Do we have questions? Feel free to raise your hand and I will unmute you and you can ask your questions directly to Sankalp. In the meantime, let me just check on YouTube and LinkedIn Live. Okay, we have about 20 live viewers on both channels, but I don't see any questions right now. Yeah. Okay, any questions here still? No, okay, Sankalp, I don't think we have any additional questions now. I guess when it's a good demo, everything's answered like that.
Yep, I really hope that it helps you folks to understand what a typical management should look like. And well, we are trying to work and provide a very amazing technology, taking it forward into the future. And I hope that it solves somebody's problem out there today, as it does for some of our customers at least. And wish to collaborate more, engage more, and take this open source project to extreme heights. Yeah.
Great, thank you very much, Sankalp. And for those of you watching, also watching the recording, you will be able to download slides in our webinar library. And then you can also, Sankalp shared on the last slide, he shared the contact information. So you're welcome to reach out to Zeeve as well if some questions pop up later. But for now, I would like to thank everybody for joining us, either here on Zoom or via the live streams, and thanks a lot to Sankalp for presenting here. As mentioned, you will be able to see the webinar on the webinar library in a day or two, along with the slides. Now, I would like to also invite you to visit our events page to learn about more upcoming events, and those are both online events like this webinar, as well as the live events when we are present. So just click this hyperlink over here, and you'll be able to see all of the events. Also, please visit our meetup page to learn about the upcoming meetups, also whether live or online. It's all over there. Don't forget to join our Discord community as well, and there is a lot of real-time interaction, so you can get a lot of information about the project, about our special interest groups, working groups, regional chapters, and more. And you can join the Discord following this link over here. If you're a corporate member and interested in joining us as a corporate member, then please feel free to reach out at ecosystem@lfdecentralizedtrust.org, or just click this link on the slide whenever you get a chance to do that. And finally, thanks again for watching, everyone. And you're welcome to join another webinars, and hope to see you there as well. Thank you, and have a good day, evening, wherever in the world you are zooming in from. Thank you and goodbye.